Hello, welcome back to the Arturia Synthi tutorial series. Today we're dealing with two different modules on opposite sides of the synth, the noise generator and the sample and hold. But as you'll see shortly, they really work very well hand in hand with each other. Let's deal with the noise generator first. Now, fundamentally, it just does exactly what it says. It generates noise. If we plug the noise output straight out, then we can see and hear noise. We have a colour knob which allows us to accentuate high pitches and the low pitches and the standard white noise, but fundamentally it's really very straightforward indeed. Now, occasionally you'll see noise generators being mapped directly to an output to provide that kind of grainy, noisy thing, but I suspect more often than not they're actually used as control voltage sources. And the control voltage source I'm going to use for the purpose of today's demonstration is the sample and hold. Now, what the sample and hold module does is take a periodic snapshot of a control voltage at a moment in time. So the rate knob determines how often these snapshots are taken. So at the moment, 7 times a second, this module is going to take a sample of whatever control voltage is input to it, and it's going to say, okay, that is now my signal. For the next 1/7 of a second, I'm going to output this control voltage level. And then when the period elapses, it's going to take a new snapshot of whatever control voltage happens to be being fed into it. So there's not much point feeding a constant signal into a sample and hold module. You're really not going to get very much effect. What you want to be inputting into it is a varying or random signal. Random is just randomly varying, but it's varying. That's the important point. So if we plug the noise generator into the sample and hold module, we're going to be able to take a snapshot of the noise generator's random output every however often this rate knob is set, and then output that control voltage somewhere else. And that's what we're going to do in today's video. Now, first things first, what I'm going to do is pull this sample and hold level right down to 1 Hertz. That'll do. And instead of mapping my noise signal directly to the output, I'm going to send it through the sample and hold module. So noise into sample and hold out, and you're not hearing an audio signal. If I turn the noise right up, you're just hearing these clicks every second. The reason for that is that the noise generator isn't inherently generating an audio signal. It's generating a set of control voltage signals so quickly that it's being interpreted as audio. When you add all of those control voltages up together, you end up generating audio noise. But if you take a single photograph of any one of them and then output that for a second, you're not hearing audio noise. You're hearing +3 volts, or some completely abstract electronics principle that doesn't translate into sound. So we can't plug the sample and hold module directly into an output and hear audio noise. We have to go via an oscillator. The sample and hold module is going to apply a modulation effect to an oscillator's frequency, and that's the way that we'll hear these changes in, well, what's going to be pitch. So what I'm going to do is plug the sample and hold into oscillator 1's frequency, oscillator 1's sawtooth to the output, and now every second we're getting a random modulation of pitch. Now the amount of variance of that pitch isn't fixed or static. It's dependent on the amount of control voltage signal that the noise generator is outputting. So if I increase the level of the noise generator, I'm going to get a wider variance of pitch changes. And at almost no level, you're going to get a really subtle almost undetectable. There we go. I can hear that now. Okay, so far so good. So now we've got the sample and hold modulator doing a genuinely interesting thing. It's providing periodic and stepped modulation of our pitch. Let's have a look at the next control, Slew. What this does is smooths the variations from one control voltage change to another. So instead of hearing these sharp changes in pitch, they're all going to be blurred together, basically like a virtual portamento effect. And then we've got a master level. So this is the amount of modulation that's going to be applied to the oscillator's pitch. If I bring this level down, it's having less effect on the pitch. It's not the volume, not the amount of output signal that we're changing here, it's the amount of control voltage signal that's flowing into the oscillator's frequency change. Let's try to make this thing sound good. Instead of coming directly out of the output, the first thing I'm going to do is go via the filter bank. That's instantly going to make it sound better. Let's see what that sounds like. Okay. Now you see I'm currently manually moving the frequency knob. We're getting all of these different kind of interesting frequency sounds, pitch sound, filters. What I'm going to do now is make the sample and hold module do two different jobs. In addition to modulating the oscillator's pitch, I'm also going to make it control this frequency knob, but by a smaller amount. So however dramatic the effect it's having on the pitch, I want that to be its primary effect, but I want to have a smaller, more subtle effect on the filter's frequency control. So the way that I do that is I take an output from the sample and hold, I'm going to plumb it into the filter frequency, but instead of connecting it with an unattenuated pin, I'm going to make the amount of control modulation that this effect applies only be 50%. So now the sample and hold module, every time it takes its new snapshot, its random signal that's being supplied by the noise generator, it's not only changing the pitch, it's also changing the frequency cutoff of the filter. And if we start bringing these up into it won't take us long. Before we start getting some really cool sounds. If you want more of that filter change, let's knock it to 75%. Pull the slew right down. Let's have a quick chat about the two different level controls here and what they're doing. The noise generator's level is feeding the sample and hold module, so that's a one-for-one kind of system. If I bring the noise generator level down, it means it's sending a smaller control voltage signal into the sample and hold. There's a smaller range of values that the sample and hold is going to be able to take a snapshot of. From that point onwards, it's sending 100% of that signal to the oscillator's pitch modulation, and 75% of it to the filter frequency's modulation. If I send a smaller noise generator signal in, then the sample and hold module as a whole, the entire thing is getting a smaller value. And so 75% of a smaller value is going to change the ratio of the difference between these two outputs. So you've got level knob on both sides of the fence here. These two modules are acting very closely in sync with each other, but by affecting the two different level knobs, you're going to get different effects. Finally, we've got a sync switch on the sample and hold. That simply ties it to the underlying host's BPM, and the rate is changed in numbers of bars. But fundamentally, it's the same principle. It just means that you're going to be getting that variation in accordance with whatever your host tempo is. That's all for this episode. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider subscribing, hit notifications, and then you'll catch the next one. Hope to see you then. Thanks a lot.